My name is Karn Carlor. I taught school for 4 years while attending the University of Liberia. I work for the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation as claim assistant. I served as general coordinator to the People's Redemption Council from 1980 to 1981 December. I served as national director or executive director for the National Readjustment Commission from 1993 to 1996-97. By profession, I'm a social worker. I come here today, Mr. Chairman, when I first got your letter to appear before this commission, my initial reaction was not to attend. I had a conversation with a number of people discussing the invitation I got. I got uncomfortable for a number of reasons. I started to ask myself, why is this commission drawing a line on 1979? Why? But as a professional social worker or clinician, I said, the entire population of our country was dislocated. I said, our country is polarized. I said, there's something not going to that commission will cost me. And Mr. Chairman, as I sat in this chair this morning, I passed by the Garden Street office of Power. I went to the mass grave of those young people that were buried. And I said to them that I'm coming to TRC to tell their story. To tell their story. And so please, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, and those of you who want to join me, please let me just say a silent prayer to those young people, to those men and women who now laid on Garden Street. May their soul and also rest in perfect peace. Amen. Chairman, my parents are originally from Kabade, southeastern Liberia. Sino County is a very poor county, very poor place. Mr. Chairman, where I come from, for over 150 years, I even say up to this morning, there's no school, sir. There's no safe drinking water. No roads. No clinic. Sometimes I get the impression that where I come from is not on the map of Liberia. That those people that live there, and please let me hurry to say this, the situation of my place is the situation of thousands and not millions of people of Liberia all over this country. No light, no water, no school, no roads. I'm a product of their poverty. I'm a product of their poverty. And so, but there's something else you need to know, Mr. Chairman, member of this commission. In southeastern Liberia, between 1888 and 1900, our culture was intact. The institutional framework of our traditional society were intact. Benjamin J.K. Anderson in 1888 made an expedition, and he reported that if the government of Monrovia did not reach out to the hinterland, the chances of losing out would be very high. And so come the birth of the Liberian Frontier Force. 1904, Liberia Frontier Force. Liberia Frontier Force came into being to enforce the law of the Monrovia government. A government that had no link, no clue about the life, the condition under which we existed. And so the Frontier Force came and they invaded our privacy. They invaded our trust. Yes, they did. They did, my friend. My great-grandfather was paramount chief then. When the Frontier Force came, they wanted to pay tax. They wanted to enforce tax payment. Yes, they wanted the poor people who have no job, no income, to pay hot tax. And if you did not pay the hot tax, there's something, if the South people call it tagbe, they tie it on your crazy bone and they scrape you naked and lay you in the sun before your wives and children. My grandfather, my friend, decided he would draw the line in the sand. The line was drawn. My family, Mr. Chairman, took on the Liberia Frontier Force. Several lives were lost. But nobody cares to recall that. They didn't come from Cruiserville. They didn't come from Atherton. They didn't come from Millsbury. They came from Kojai. They came from Pinetown. They were from southeastern Liberia. They couldn't read. They couldn't write. So who cared? They didn't know about it. Why should somebody pay attention to some little Yidam, some little native person? We just killed them. Yes. But you know something? Grandfather fought them. And then they set Kojai on fire. Over 1,000 houses, they burned them to the ground. And my parents fled Kabadi. And the story I'm telling you is the story of thousands of young people that came together in 1976. My story is the story of thousands and thousands of young people. We recruited in Nima, all over Nima. We slept in every town in Nima. We recruited in Bon County to build power, even though the government said it didn't exist. We recruited in Lofa, in every town, and the government said no power man here. We recruited in Bassa. I remember the superintendent said, Mr. President, when you come here, you will war and you will not see a fly that look at power. Yes, we did. But so what happened to my parents, and what happened to thousands of parents that were from the indigenous background? What happened to them? These people, what brought us here, Mr. Chairman, I show you, be a lawyer, you know, you agree with me. It's power. How power is allocated and how power is exercised. That what brought us here. Power. And the reason I'm putting emphasis on power, Mr. Chairman, power is pivotal in the allocation of goods and services. So here was the government instructing the Liberian Frontier Force, knowing full well it has no basis in the allocation of goods and services. It did not understand the aspiration, the hopes, the dreams of the poor people. Yet they claim to represent them. And the native people supposed to accept that. Native men supposed to accept that. To you young people who sit in your Thai workshop this morning, wherever you're doing, wherever you're discussing, to all of the young people throughout this country, I'm dedicating this conversation to you. My son, born 1982, he's now 26. He works at General Electric in Connecticut, USA. In a conversation, I was telling him that the TRC invited me. He said, but what do they call you for? How come they call granddaddy? Somebody call somebody when they call granddaddy? I said, no, Karn. Your granddaddy, nobody. He nobody. And thousands of parents that were killed, did nobody. He said, how come? I said, because they were natives. You got no right. Read the interior regulation, my friend, promulgated by Arthur Barkley. Read it. You guys have access to resources. Read it. What did that regulation say? Native men get no right, in essence. So we can come, we send Frontier Force there, they beat you up, and then, you know, I'm sure a lot of you in this hall, maybe you heard it someplace. Between 1920 and 1930, my parents, among several parents in the southeast, were sent to Fananipool. They were forced on slave labor to Fananipool. They get no right to be here. We can send them anywhere. We make money off of them. Fananipool. How come they're supposed to be here and we sitting here trying to look for some money? So we ship them to Fananipool. The other day I heard Madame say she's in charge of history. Please document that for so my son will see it too. Because he needs to see it. I come to this conversation standing on the high shoulders of Boyman Fambule, Oscar Quia, Chia Chipo, Tobana Tipoti. You know something? I was in the 11th grade when I saw Tipoti when he came to do this kind of work. This guy had a PhD already. Imagine 1971 with a PhD. This boy could have made any amount of money in this country. He could have. When I entered the university, I saw the young guy. They say he just came. He has a PhD, Amos Sawyer. These boys were fresh, smart people. You will ask yourself, but why are they doing this? These guys could make some money, man. The first time I saw Boyman Famule was this Ministry of Justice as a young man in AGM school, right on this place. His father was arrested because he had few socially boats and some broke in a house. And I saw this kid, tear rolling. I said, damn, that's my friend. That's my friend. It could have been my father. But I said, yes, that what happened to my father? I was born in a place in Sino they call Cedar. When the boy Kojai, my grandfather took all of us. He took his family. There was a man called Amos Wellerspoon. He was a social justice of Liberia. He's from Sino. And they told a story that if my grandfather went to Amos Wellerspoon, that nobody would touch him. He and his family. I guess as the good Lord will have it, Wellerspoon was in Sino. The code was not in section. And my grandfather met him. He entered into a contract with a social justice Wellerspoon. And what was the nature of the contract? My grandfather agreed that every year he and his family would make farm for Mr. Wellerspoon. And up to the time of his death, from 1920 to 1961 when he died, my parents were making farm for Mr. Wellerspoon because he gave us shelter. And what happened to my grandfather or my grandparents, I want to say successfully, that was the plight of several families throughout our country. My family knew a thing or two about political repression. And so I grew up, all of us grew up learning the story, what happened. I agreed to come here, Mr. Chairman, because I want to talk about what happened. I don't want to editorialize the conversation. I want to tell you what happened. So, TRC sent this letter. And I started to say, but why TRC though? Why are they doing this? I said, after the execution in 1980, in the cycle of the True We Party, they believed there were certain people who initiated, who engineered the execution of the 13 people. And those people must be killed at all costs. That conversation from 1980, I say up to today, they believe there are certain people who led to the execution of the 13 and the Mogadivi. And this country was looking so nice. This place was so beautiful. Until the native children the good-for-nothing children who not succeeded anyway came here. We were doing very well. But let me say to you, to those of you young people who study in the Atai Shop or at the University of Liberia, at Cottington, all over this country, when they say Liberia was nice, you know what they're talking about? Monrovia highlights. The University of Liberia, the only state school, the school open, so it's all right. So where they coming from to say this place not nice? Yeah. Along Monrovia was nice, Liberia was nice. But I had a nice surprise for them. Nice surprise for them. I beg to differ with those who say Liberia nice. Because of my family's opposition, natural resistance to the useless use of power, we pay attention to governance. My family did. My parents could not read or write, but the only thing they were interested in was what government was doing. And our case study was Sino. My family followed the activities of government on a daily basis. And in their opinion, the government did not perform. And they concluded they have no obligation to this kind of government, this thing that doesn't work. My parents would talk about the Southtown War. They would talk about the Grable War. They would talk about the fighting Sino. And my grandfather would say, this country will never ever turn the corner until we have our own children in the house. I didn't understand what he meant when he said in the house. He was talking about the House of Senate and House of Representatives. My grandfather, and I show many grandfathers from the four corners of this country, believe the only way we make progress until we send our own people into the House of Legislature. That as long as we fail to get our people into the House, we'll not do well. I heard that conversation until my father passed. My grandfather said something else, Counselor. Whenever the native people had issue in Sino, there was nobody to represent them. Nobody. And so my grandfather, you would say to all of his grandchildren, the seven people they call lawyer Cantana. Cantana. Yes. My grandfather said his children must go to law school. And I'm talking over 50 years. This guy who can't read, who can't write, was insisting that a case learn the law. And so our family, my family, and the family of many throughout our country send their children to law school too. So that when something goes wrong, they too can have someone to run to. My family raised few lawyers. They did well. Few of the guys are financial analysts. They did well. But my parents trained me to oppose this thing that doesn't work. That was my assignment. My assignment was to oppose this thing that doesn't work for everybody. And so they told me how David Coleman was dragged, was killed. They would talk about Nancy Branell, this lawyer, this indigenous man. My family will talk about D12, this knowledgeable man, well learned. They will talk about morale. I went home in 1968. I had a conversation with my father. I told him I saw family, they were beating him. Henry Boyman family senior. And he said, my son, they have always beaten our good people. They try to subjugate them. That's what they have always done. He said, but you know, you got to keep on. You got to grow. Don't worry about what happened to family, but you got to go to school. When you go to school, maybe one day somebody will get lucky. And all the poor people, children that are learning book, one day somebody somewhere will succeed. And the condition of the poor people will be better. I had a conversation with my father in 1968. My grandmother would say, we fought war, we fought the people. The people, they killed, they burned our home. And she would say, but you know, the thing that used to give me trouble, that I don't understand. I wonder they get family too. Because they just come in a town and shoot people and they burn a place. Do they have family too? Why am I talking all of this? The men and women who formed the Progressive Alliance of Liberia, that's their life. The life of their parents, their parents' parents. And then, you know, my father said, you know, he decided to take me from Sino. First, he encouraged my big brother to come to Monrovia to go to LU. Because Grandpa said he got to be the lawyer. He got to learn law. So he came to Monrovia to learn law. As a good lawyer, we have a counselor, S. Edward Carlor, became a very good lawyer. Became a very good lawyer. He lived the dream of our grandfather. So that poor people from that side of Sino can have somebody to run to too. My brother graduated from the law school in 1968. He started to work for Richie Henrys. Richie Henrys, Speaker of the House. He was Speaker. He was loyal to all the major concessions. What a contradiction. What sort of representation is that? My brother worked from 69 to the date of the coup for Richie Henrys. Let me say quickly, Liberia became a one-party state. One-party state. That's the context in which we're having this conversation. One-party state. The True We Party of Liberia was the only place that you dish up power, you make money. If you well behave, they reward you. True We Party. In 1970 came, the True Party, they will arrest some opposition person here, they will intimidate them, they will rape their wives, they will rape their children all over the place. if they believe you are opposed to the party, you will never get any blessing. You'll be very lucky if you get a job to teach, because teaching was the only thing they could get natives, you know. Few of the other ones that fell through the crack, you know, who became superintendent here and there, they fired them in little or no time. They fired them. It's a culture thing. It's a culture thing. So I saw 1973. I saw Prince Brown. I saw William Bade. I saw William City. They were soldier. Good men. The security agencies of our country they decide if you're in politics that you live or you die. They can plant any information in you, on you, in your house, on your family, and there's no way you can change that. It sticks. And so I saw Prince Brown. I saw William Bade, William City. True party said they want to overthrow them. Then I saw a very good gentleman around 73, 74. This gentleman will write about the practices of government. They call him Albert Port, the goblin business. William R. Talbot became president in 1971. By 1973-74, the Talbot family have taken over major business institutions in the country, including the rubber plantation of the place of my birth, Sino County. They had taken over everything. The Progressive Alliance of Liberia came together around that time, 1974-75. Gabriel, Bacchus, Matthews, Oscar, Jai, Quia, Samuel, Polyvius, Jackson, Thomas, Weweyu, Fedre, Baz, Gologai, you young people. They decided, you know, something is not right in our country. And there are many other people, you know, their brain is old now. Brain is old, so just in case I did not recall your name, please pass me. Give me a pass. It's not deliberate. It's not deliberate. The guys came together and said, you know, something is not right. Maybe we need to do something. And the first order of business by Powell in 1975 was to constitute themselves into something like a research thing, a think tank group, research policy issues, and make recommendations to government. They soon learned very quickly that this thing will not work. True Wing Party does not respond to some letter by some child sitting up in New York or Washington, D.C. No. The group in the United States decided that they will publish their own newspaper. And their focus will be the government of Liberia, the workings, and the lack of it. And whenever the edition is produced, they will smuggle that paper throughout the country. In 1975, while at the university, somebody walked to me one day. I don't remember that person, but he gave me a stack of the Revolution. He said, "My man, take the paper and read and do whatever you want to do." I took this paper. I fell in love with the writings. Let me say quickly, I was member of Moja then. I was a member of Moja. Everything my parents told me, Moja began to confirm it. They start to tighten my identity, my values, my beliefs. Moja. But when I read that paper from Powell, the paper indicated that Powell wanted to form an opposition party to True Party. I said, damn it, this is what my grandfather said we should do. My grandfather told me we should oppose these people. That these people will never ever change the condition under which our people lived. I was excited, blown away. And they had some form in our edition for you to, fill a form, and I did. I filled a form. At the time, I was Secretary General of the Liberian Student Christian Council based in the YMCA. I grew up in the YMCA as a kid. I'm a product of the Grey Y. I'm a product of the High Y. I went through the Model United Nations General Assembly thing. I went through the National Older Boys Conferences from 7th grade through 12th grade. I thought the YMCA did pretty well with me and with a lot of other young people. They prepared us. I'm not even going to talk about student government. From 6th grade up to the time I left high school, I was president of somebody, some class, some student council. My skills were grown. I was good to go. And then when I entered the university in 75, I became chairman of the All Student Allied Party. My skills again were being beefed up. But there's something my father told me, and I must share with you. He always advocated fairness, objectivity. And so through my work, I try to be fair to people. Even if I'm opposed to you, I try to see reason in your own advocacy or lack of it. 1975. Mr. Matthew dropped me a note through the YMCA stating that Powell was considering coming to Liberia. I said, whoa, damn, that war back. So all my men there, we'll crack jokes, say, damn man. True body people will kill people. And we'll laugh. But we laughed at something that we later on became to know that it was not a joke. It was serious business. From 1976 to 1980, we talked to every major family in this town to find out what it is about doing political thing. Every family, every individual we talk to in this town will say, no, 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 don't do this. No, no, don't do this. They will say, can you just find somewhere to go? You in college? Why you want to do this? You will bring trouble to the family. True we party? What? And Matthews finally landed here with Samuel Polybius Jackson, Oscar Jai Queer, to meet with President Talbot to impress upon the president a member of the True We Party that we're ready. We're ready to organize our party. We informed the president that we are organizing our party on 3 basic principles. And one of those principles was, I guess, well, we made some changes today, but the issue we raised with True We Party, they are alive and well today. But here was the issue we raised. We indicted True We Party on 4 counts. Here they come. Failure to develop a comprehensive educational system that will have ensured all Liberian children of a brighter future. That was count 1. Count 2, we said, failure to provide the infrastructure necessary for the country to make progress. Infrastructure. How you make progress, they play close. The 3rd count, we indicted the True We Party. We said, failure to develop agriculture program that will enable our people to ultimately become self-sufficient. On the 4th count, we indicted the True We Party. We said, failure to create a political apparatus of inclusion, indicative of social and economic justice and equality. Those were the 4 counts. We felt that this country will never ever make progress as long the school system is not correct. Throughout my lifetime, my parents, they're farmers. That's all we live on. They don't have any job organized, they work for themselves. But the food we produce, we couldn't sell it because there was no road. Where we live in Sino, how much food can you put on your head to take to Greenville to the marketplace? We couldn't. How come some people in this country believe only they have the brains and only they can make decisions for you, and that you are not capable to decide what is good or what is bad? On those reasoning, the Progressive Alliance of Liberia was given birth, Mr. Chairman. We decided that the cornerstone, our cornerstone, that the Progressive Alliance of Liberia, that later on became the Progressive People's Party, will bring people to the process through the primary system. We said, and I showed a number of people in this room, on this panel, we agree with me, that True We Party selected people through the caucus system. They go in a back room, smoke their cigar, drink their wine, drink their gin, and decide on somebody. We decided that we'll contrast that approach. That approach will not help our country. And so we adopted the primary system. The second pillar we've advocated was that the country needed to be decentralized. We needed to reorganize the country. We argue that if you reorganize the country, that one, you will bring credit. You will strengthen the credit institutions. And poor people will have access to financial institutions to get whatever they wanted to do so that they can do it. And do it without hindrance. We argue that the poor people of Liberia have good credit in paying banks. That the American Liberians have no credibility. Every bank they have put together, they have stolen the money from there. And we believe the poor people, if they credit from a bank, that bank has a future. The third piece, we say, Liberia will have to socially engineer progress. We have to craft progress. We have to define the boundaries and limits so that our people will make progress. We said in power that this country deserves better. We deserve better. But of the three things I named that made power different was food. 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 Those of you who are learned people here, and throughout this morning, throughout the country who hear this voice, what did D2S say about food in 1944? What did he say? Go read it. This commission has asset, you have partners that have money. Ask them to do the research. 1944. What did they say about food? Here's this country that eat rice 4-5 times a day and have no program to produce it. What kind of business is this? What's wrong with us? What is wrong with us? And the commission say Liberia problem from 1979. Mr. Chairman, please forgive me. For whatever reason you drew the line, it's unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable to me, oh man. I'm sorry. How can you ignore the history, the banditry, the atrocity in this place, and you draw a line on 1979, Mr. Chairman? How dare you? You are a lawyer, my friend. You are a lawyer. How can you? How can you let them? You guys have your records. I mean, you have good record, man. Let me put on my social work cap for a moment, please. And I put on this cap, Mr. Chairman, because I hear people talking about apology. What is the mission of this commission? What is the mission? What's your focus? Because it will give us understanding, sir. Because all the debate that's taking place, you're not reacting to it. You've been sucked into some false perception, sir. And that's sad. That's sad. That's sad. As a social worker, Liberia coming all of at least the last 14 years of war, your focus. The 14 years of war, in fact, has separated our families. This war reduced our values. This war broke down the institutions. The institution of the family, culture, economic, even political. Not only that, sir, we lost over 300,000 people. They were raped, Mr. Chairman. My father was killed because you were Karn Carlor's father, Mr. Chairman. The only crime he committed, he born this crazy fella. Yeah. the ministry, 1976. Paul came. We were clear what we wanted to do here. When we came here, those of us who were on the ground, the guys that came from the States, Blamo Nelson, Matthews, Alfonso Kawa, DK Wonselier graduated from Cuttington with a math degree. The son of a chief. This kid, I've seen pretty bright people. DK Wonselier, very bright kid. We were trying to put together power. And we thought that those of us who were here, I never went to America, I'll be here. My parents brought me from Sino 1962. 9 years old, 1962. Everything I learned through those years up to 1983 was here. I'm one of those that you can call locally groomed. I went to school only here. Know nothing about nothing, communism, socialism, come from communist country and all that stuff. I grew up in this town. I learned to study this town. I told you the YMCA did me some good. I visited every county before I graduated from high school. Every county. YMCA, they were doing national older boys conference. They were doing some vacation thing. They were always doing something. The national student movement, Charles Minor, now Liberian ambassador, I understand they recently replaced him to Washington. Charlie carried us everywhere. Before I came out of high school, Mr. Chairman, I've seen our country. I had you didn't have to tell me. I was all over Lofa, all over Maryland, all over the place. The YMCA were training us to take over leadership. I said they expose us. The girls guys, the Boy Scout, all of these, what you now famous, you call big, those are you civil society people, you call civil society, they were there those days. Their emphasis at that time was training young people to be leaders. I got lucky. If you recalled, at that time they were training young people to compete, to drill in the streets. You know, we school drill best and do this and do that. They were talking about meet the challenge. We students were smart. Yeah. And I'm saying this to say, every day I wake up, I walk through the streets, and I see our young people all over this place. And I ask myself, so what do we have to do when we deal with this kid who's selling biscuit? 6, 7 years old selling biscuit in the street. What will his life be after 30 years? The conversation we're having is about 30 years, right? What we did in 1979 or didn't do. What will Liberia be like 30 years from today? All of you, my friends, who are sitting at a Atai shop at a different radio station, let me give you an issue. What will Liberia be in 30 years? That's a conversation you should keep with our young people. And the reason why it's important, 56% of our population is below 21. That's my social work cap. 56%. If you say 3.5, If you say 4, if you say 2.8, whatever you say our population is, 56% is under the age of 21. My time, they used to say the growth rate of Liberia was 3.3. They say we're more the fastest, nation, population growth. 3.3. Now, please forgive me again, Mr. Chairman. Let me raise another question. What is the purpose of doing all these studies? The first national development plan I saw as a young kid in college who were curious, who were anxious about the future, was a plan produced by William R. Talbot. The first national development plan of Liberia was produced in 1976 by Mr. Talbot. In St. Patrick we used to say, so we ate the book. We read it, we analyzed it, and we did not see the connect between the policy formulation and the resource allocation to make the policy. So you read a very nice book. We have one program in the parlor of the executive mansion, and then we clap, we drink some wine, and we go home. 1976. So Paul had a document to work with. The president 4-year development plan, 1976. We key on the implication of that plan on food. We did not see a connection. There was disconnect between the policy and what they say will come. They all come. There's no connection. When you set goal, people who are in this business, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission will provide therapy over the next 10 years. So they set a goal. But Truth and Reconciliation Committee or Commission must define some small steps so that we can get to that goal 10 years. If those steps, if there are no steps to take us to that goal 10 years from now, somebody can conclude, say this one here is a joke. We read the 1976 plan of the True We Party. It was a castle in the air. No pillows. No pillows. And for us, it was unacceptable. So since our interest, now please understand, our party, our movement, we said we put in place the primary system. We want decentralization. We want to make sure that Liberians get in the business of creating capital for themselves and for our country. For us, we could not compromise any of those three. Create indigenous capital. Process a policy, because you got to understand something. And some people will argue, those of you sitting in the Atai shop, they will argue with you. Liberia is a unitary, it's unitary, they're not federal. How can that all men they say we must decentralize? When you empower people, When you give people voice, there can be nothing better than giving voice to people. That's where decentralization, we argue at the time, will do. To give voice to the people. They will make mistakes, we said. No doubt. That the administrators will make mistakes. And so when we read President Tolbert Lewsom, we went to see the Minister of Agriculture. Very early 1978, after all the research, after all the assessment, every major paper written about Liberia between 1976 to 1980 we read. Every major policy paper we read. Because we were told that True We Party was vicious. And you must be able to dot the I's and cross the T's, or else you will be murdered in the morning. And so 1978, we decided to approach the Minister of Agriculture, the lady who had responsibility for food. We had a very nice conversation, and she said, you should go to see the Assistant Minister of Planning in the Ministry of Agriculture. The young brother, I think our own generation too, the Peking too wanted to prove that he too was knowledgeable and that nobody would push him over. That. I mean, the conversation was not friendly at all. Very hostile conversation we both kept. We went back to see him. We met with him about 3-4 times, you know, talking about the food, sending letters here and there. But let me bring you up to date about something, because I hear some people in this place keep talking about it. I think between March and April 1978, we wrote the Ministry of Justice and the President of Liberia to have a political meeting in this very hall. In this hall. This hall. And we asked the President, just in case the pavilion is booked, please let us use City Hall. We got no reply from the President. We got no reply from the Minister of Justice. And the day we asked to hold meeting in this hall, the True We Party brought battalion into the city. They brought the army for the first time out of the barracks. They brought the army from Camp Nama, from Camp Ramrod, from Todi. They brought them and they shut this hall down, this hall. This historical hall was denied to the people. Mr. Chairman. They just shut us out. But who said they can't have meeting in our place? The Centennial Memorial Pavilion became their place. Early 1978. But what was troubling, you didn't reply us, but you brought army. I watched the young people in CDC. I watched the young people in the National Patriotic Party. Please give me 1 second, let me talk to you why I make this conversation with the commission. To fight power game, you got to know the rules. To play power game, you honor obligation to learn the rules and learn it well. Because the people you'll be meeting, they are crafted, very brilliant people. I just want you to know that. Because when I see CDC people every day, when I see MPP case every day, I always say, now that look like power. Yeah, I would do my hair like that, you know. They look like us. That's how we used to be. Yeah. People told us we have no place in this place. That we have no right to be here. And the only reason they told us that, Mr. Chairman, because we're native people children. We're poor people children, oh man. But why they can't find something to do? And mind you, they might not ask you where you study in school and you might not call some different thing. But you can't teach. But why you don't go and teach? But how come you're not doing little agriculture? They want to define what is good for you. My father, my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father. I show millions of fathers throughout the land and breadth of our country told their children what they can do, and they told them that sky is the limit. They told them. Anyone that I've seen in my life, I tell them every day, you are good. I love you. My own children, my relative children, did the pride and joy. If you were to get to see any of my kids this morning and you say something to them, say, Big Carlor told me, you're not telling me something new. Because I told them they have to be competitive. That I born in a place that was not friendly to me and to my friends. 1978. We had all of 1978, Mr. Chairman, up and down with True We Party. Up and down. Communication. We did something else, Mr. Chairman. There's nobody of significance in the town we didn't talk to. We had no problem walking in somebody's house or office to just question them, what do you know? Because it was important to us. We're outsider, man. We knew we were outsider. We knew we were truly in a strange territory. We knew that. And so we wanted to understand what it was all about. 1978. 1978. 3 times in 1978, we decided to hold public meeting, PAL. 3 times. The True We Party turned her down, and they didn't only turn her down from the hall, they brought the army. Late 1978, the first political party meeting that was held in this town from 1956 to 1978, the meeting we had was the first opposition meeting held in this place. And guess where it was held? Guess where? On the beach. Coconut Plantation. On the beach. 1978. 1978. You want to tell me all the public building in the town? I thought, and we started asking ourselves, but I thought this government said they want opposition. But for them, the True We Party government, did not draw a line between political party, True Party, and the government of Liberia. In fact, they were one and the same. We had a meeting, and President Talbot, the security told President Talbot, we had a meeting on the beach, and there were guns on the beach. 1978. We met with President Talbot, and he said, you know, I get a report, you get guns. But you know, you can't do nothing here, you know, wherever little gun you get. 78. The 2 points I'd like to make. The people that work in our security services and you are dealing with that very question today. The police. We are organizing the police. We are organizing the armed forces of Liberia. What is the mission of the new army after 14 years of war? What is the mission? Philosophically, what is the army supposed to do? The army of 2008. I understand some foreign people are organizing this army. What do they know about the sociology, the anthropology, the history of Liberia to constitute our army? What do they know about us? Then I hear say the police this, the police that. Who constituted the police? What the police supposed to do? What's their mission? What's the purpose? (1978). They brought the army on us because we want to have meeting in this room. The true army at us. We pull back. We're not ready. No, we're not ready. After the time when we had a meeting in Coconut Plantation, by that time we are organized pal in every neighborhood in this town. Every neighborhood in this town had what we call area committee. Mr. Chairman, we work 24 hours non-stop in this town. Oscar Queer, DK Wanselier, we decided we'd take another large county from the True Party, and we took Nima. We wanted to teach them a lesson very badly. We wanted to rub their noses in the sand so they would know that power belongs to all. We wanted them to know that politics or the whole power game was full-time. It was not only about eating money, taking people money, arresting people falsely, lying up and down. There's a definition of governance that I want you to know, Mr. Chairman. It says, strong state. Strong state. Accountable to a citizen under the rule of law. Governance. There are several definitions. As you go through the literature, you will find. For this discussion, I want you to focus on that piece for a while for me. Strong state, accountable to a citizen, under the rule of law. So what is the law? What is the law, Counselor? What did they say about forming political parties? What did they say? What should be the behavior governing political parties? Prior to 1986 Constitution, what was the law? I'm not even worried about 1986. What was the law that governed the behavior of political parties prior to 1986 Constitution? What was the law? Because it's important for you to know, because you may in no time you will say, well, they violent, they acted outside the law. But what is the law? It's important for this commission. Because for me, I'm hoping that when the commission job is done, you will help us to understand what is happening to our country. You will help us to understand the place of the Constitution. You will help us to understand how we do business as a government. You will help us to understand what is the role of the political parties. How should they behave? So 1978, we decided we'll get an office. There's a man, he was involved in diamond business. May his soul rest in peace this morning. Timothy Frank. Mr. Frank said he worked with Nadia Brownell and other people in 1956. He said they killed them. And he said his way of mourning, of grieving, would be to give Paul his house. If the place, I stopped there this morning. I stopped at Paul's office this morning. I stopped to the mass grave of the power people that were dumped there. I went there to say, I will tell your story. (1978), around October, November, all the ministries were preparing annual reports. And our people at the Ministry of Agriculture informed us that, the minister recommending rice increase. No, the Oma increasing the rice. So when we heard that, well, right around that time, please let me step by. All the area committees came together, and I was asked to serve as the general coordinator of PAL Monrovia branch. So I took a seat on the leadership table of PAL. When we got the word that the old man had recommended price increase, I convened a meeting of all the area committees. That meeting, we considered one item: food policy. That's all the meeting was about, to discuss food policy. December 1978. The Monrovia branch of the Progressive Alliance of Liberia convened. We invited the leaders of the Central Committee Mr. Matthews, Mr. Quia, D.K. Wanselier, Samuel Doki, D.K. Wanselier, Dominique Sao from Bonn, and all of our men around the country. And Nyepan from Sino, we brought all of them in. We wanted to have a conversation among ourselves. I recall at the end of that meeting, we decided that we will hold a demonstration. I was instructed by the Central Committee to ensure that the demonstration take place. My mandate was clear. Let the demonstration happen. December 1978. Then we went back into outreach. Talk to people in government. Talk to people in business. Talk to people in the True We Party. Went back to Minister Florence Chenaway. At the time, the current president of Liberia, Mr. Salif, was Deputy Minister of Finance. She was B person too. B person in the True We Party. Yes. 1978. We ran this conversation with school. We went to LU library, just talking to people to understand the issue better. So we wrote Minister of Justice Oliver Bright to grant us permit to demonstrate, to take our request to President Talbot and the True We Party. Because by that time, we have learned a thing or two about how this government, or the True We Party government, how it does business. And so we took our letter to Mr. Bright, provided a covering letter, and sent it to President Talbot. The letter we sent to President Talbot, we asked for a meeting. We asked for a meeting to meet with the president and the government. The president agreed to meet with us on March 25th, 1979. March 25th, 1979. PAR constituted a 25-man delegation. At that time, we called our delegation the People's Delegation. They were comprising of people from the civil society, from our party, and people who have interest in the issue. The President Talbot brought to that meeting Mrs. Helen Johnson Salif, his Deputy Minister of Finance. She attended that meeting. Oliver Bright, Florence Chenaway, Richard Henrys, Frank Talbot, the stars of the True We Party were there. March 25th, 1979. At the end of that meeting, President Talbot told us, or told a meeting, that he understood the concern of the delegation. He said, I will get back to you. let it be known that the recommendation from the Ministry of Agriculture is just a recommendation. We trusted the president. We had a handshake with a gentleman. Because I must say quickly, President Talbot had treated Powell with respect. And whenever he tells us something, we honor it. From March 25th to April 4th, we didn't get a word from Oliver Bright, we didn't get a word from Florence Chenoweth, and we didn't get a word from the president of Liberia. Matthew and I sneaked into the president's office. We went to the mansion. We told the people that we were there we wanted to see the president. The president agreed to see us. We went. He looked at Matthew, he looked at me, and he said, do you understand that the people that producing rice or importing rice need to make some profit? And Matthew said, yeah, Mr. President, we do. And I asked him, I said, Mr. President, so how much profit they're supposed to make? He said, Karn, your father is a farmer. You don't want so we change the way he working? I said, yeah, Mr. President. But not the way you're doing it. Because nobody reach us, Mr. President. We get rolled. By that time we have read the literature now. We were very solid, very confident on the literature, on the books. I said, no, not the way you're doing it, no role, nothing there. So, my father, I don't expect my father's condition to change, Mr. President. And then during the meeting, Matthew said, Mr. President, who stands to benefit from the proposed price increase? He said, Mr. President, we have a listing of all the people that are importing rice to Liberia today. The number one importer is Daniel Talbot, your brother. He said, Mr. President, we have a listing of all the rice producers. The number one producer happy to be you and your friend J.T. Philip and all of you. So yeah. President Talbot got up. He got up. You could see his face. And he walked out. He came across, he came around the table. Around the table. And he said, he was shaking. And I said, Mr. President, we trust you. You've been fair to us. You've been firm. Please do something about the rice. And then he put his two hands. He gave me the center of Matthew and myself. He put his hand on my shoulder. He put his hand on Matthew's shoulder. He said, I will do everything that in my power to get the issue resolved. We shook his hand for the second time. We thought we were making a gentleman agreement again. April 4th, 1979. Mr. Chairman, why am I going through all of this? Because there is the thinking in this town that Powell people were reckless. That these boys were just troublemaker. Please let me say, no, we're not. And if you decide to do a good work, and you take the profile of the guys in power, each and every one of them, take each of them, run through their life over the last 30, 40 years, there's no spot on our skin about the use of force in this country. No spot. We, the Powell people, including those that are lying in a graveyard on Center Street, those that were buried in Temple Village, the police threw them there, and the only crime they committed was because they were Powell members. They killed them. Those that dominate Bain, took on the beaches, Greenville, the sprinkler sand on, the only crime they committed was because they were Powell members. Those who were jailed in Camp 4 or in Saniquele or in Lamco area or beaten in Lamco area, the only crime they committed was because they were Powell people. We, no time, Mr. Chairman, try to force anything in this town. We follow the law. Now, if somebody in this room sitting and listening to the radio say that you commit a crime to abide by the Constitution, then I submit to you, Mr. Chairman, I commit crime. If somebody on this panel, if somebody in this room, if somebody sitting somewhere in the country say Powell people committed crime because they followed the law, then we submit. I respectfully say to you, Mr. Chairman, we did not. We follow the Constitution to the letter. We follow the Constitution to the letter. After April 4, after our meeting with the president, we drew some conclusions. We left that room believing that President Tolbo's mind was made up and there would be price increase. We got to Gertie Street, our Powell's office. After all the analysis and all of that, we wrote President Tolbo a letter asking President Tolbo to accept a $20,000 contribution to do research on our food policy. We said to the president that he did not have sufficient evidence that the research, that the formulation of our food policy, that the logic was faulty. We concluded the president's logic for increasing the price of rice was faulty. And we wanted him to reconsider the idea that we asked him to employ people to recruit people, to bring people to study the full policy of Liberia so that we can all make progress, including him. In a few days, we got a letter of rejection from the president that they would not accept our contribution. At that time, Oliver Bright had issued the first order to shoot and kill if any child is found in the street. Oliver Bright, the Minister of Justice, my Attorney General, decided that he will shoot me for abiding by the law. Oliver Bright. Remember something? The luxuries you have today was never there, my people. Every radio, everything that resembled radio in this town was controlled by the True We Party. Everything that looked or smelled like newspaper in this town was controlled and managed by the True We Party. Whether Liberian Age, Liberian Star, the Inaugural, the Bento Times, you name anybody in this town. Everything that was newspaper in this town was controlled by the True We Party. In fact, the only radio station in this town, there were two. ELBC, owned by the government of Liberia, and ELWA, a Christian radio station. So how come these boys who have no means, how come they beat them? The people have radio, they have television. The man who spoke for 2 days in this place yesterday, he was a government announcer. Yeah. Government announcer. This guy who bowled this town yesterday. Government announcer. The government controlled the media then. Today, through radio, all sort of radio stations are now here. You should look back and smile and say, well, I guess we made a little progress then. With all the radio stations you get here and all the newspaper you get here, you can write anything. You can say, well, look, but we come a long way, right? So Oliver Bright issued orders. Then, shamelessly, the Minister of Education issued order that no child will go in the street for the demonstration. He has showed the president, and shamelessly. Easter. This holy day. This holy day was coming. People were trying to organize themselves for Easter. And here were poor people organizing to do this work. We reconvene again. The Central Committee of the Progressive Alliance of Liberia, we reconvene, and we decided to step up our outreach. And my assignment was to see two people. Itomo Reeves, George D. Brown. We have been in contact with Bishop Brown from the time Matthew arrived here. Bishop Brown, Reverend Reed, a lot of people. And Bishop would say, so come, what is it that you think you will do with True We Party? Why don't you just find one little scholarship and just go away? Please forgive me for stopping. My boss man just arrived. Welcome, Mr. Queer. We went out, Matthews, Queer, all these guys, to talk to people. As a principal organizer, I was getting nervous. Getting very nervous. Because when you listen to the radio or you watch TV, you panic. The government was issuing shoot to kill orders. I think it was April 12, Matthew, Sawyer, Fambule met. I think somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in the cemetery, to review everything that was happening. And the fundamental question was asked, what is it that we'll do now? I can say we have it. After that conversation, the bottom line was the demonstration would take place. Oliver Bright was hard. The police force at that time was refurbished. They had recruited a lot of the young people into the riot mood. They trained them to fight riot, to fight, do like this demonstration business, to quiet riot, and they were hard. They gave them cars, they gave them new uniforms, they get their plane, they think they were New York police, acting hard. Oliver Bright said, anything that you see in the street that shakes, shoot it. That March, that April 12 meeting between Matthews, Sawyer, and Fambule, I didn't attend the meeting, but when they came from there, they said the meeting didn't go well. April 13, I remember having a meeting with Queer and Matthews. I asked both Mr. Queer, the Secretary General, who was my boss, and Mr. Matthews. I said to them, to train and prepare a revolutionary to bring somebody to your caliber, it's hard. It's hard. It takes time to train people for statesmanship. And so, you guys should not come to Garden Street. I will take over the leadership at Garden Street and we march from Garden Street to the executive mansion and you can join us. I will send the word to all the guys who may want to be there. I still recall in an emotional way, Queer hugged me and he said, you sure that what you want to do? He said, you're your mother only child, you know. I said, but that's the reason I want to do it. Matthew looked at me a long time. He reached out to me. He shook my hand. He reached his hand. I shook his hand. And the meeting was over. We had a deal. We were getting ready now for showtime. The area's committees of power. How you were arrested? At the time, Monrovia was about maybe 400,000, you know. And the police say They will shoot at 400,000 people. We were worrying at that time about a couple of things. Some people said, but we can go to court. If they deny us the permit, why don't we go to court? And Mr. Chairman, part of your work as this true commission, please pay attention to the justice system. Please do everything, as America, as Britain, as any nation of goodwill, to help us fix our justice system, so that we can recruit independent people to the hall, people who have guts, people who have nerve and the intelligence to administer the law. You don't need flunky in the court. If we do not take time with that piece of our life, we have another round of 14 years. We must find a way to reconstitute the court. And some bum said, why you can't go to court? Jimmy Pierre was presiding over the court, the Supreme Court. Jimmy Pierre was one of those notorious Attorney General of Liberia in prosecuting opposition. And Paul must go before the Pierre court to act for justice. You think we're crazy? We must go to the Supreme Court to ask the Supreme Court, please let us demonstrate small, you know. Imagine. We control the force. Politics is about force, my friend. We have the force. My friend Gabriel Matthews used to say, we have the hair count. We could beat the True We Party any second after April 14. We're good. We're knowledgeable. We're smart. We had a lot of energy. And we didn't make a secret. No secret about that. They knew we would beat them. And they decided that we'll be intimidated at all costs. They will shoot couple about it, and if the gunshot hit Oscar Kuya, so be it. Matthew, forget that. Their mind was cleared. We have picked up, there was nothing in this town between 1978 and 1979 that we did not know. You have a meeting 9 o'clock, by 9:50 we knew where you concluded. That's how good we were. Politics is full-time, guys. All of you guys who doing political party work, and you think, and the job we need empowerment, No. I have a gentleman, he told us something, and I will let you know that. April 14 came. So, the night of April 13, that we, our poet, have walked the Ministry of Justice over and over, George Brown over and over, Tomo Reed over and over, name every person of significance in the town, in the church, were trying to get involved to stop the crisis. Oliver Bright, he will not hear. We issue one thing. The Progressive Alliance of Liberia will now go to court to seek permit to demonstrate. We issue a policy statement. We issue in that statement that the Progressive Alliance of Liberia will demonstrate 3 p.m. will be on the grounds of the Executive Mansion at 3 p.m. to present a formal request to the President and the True We Party not to increase the price of rice. That's all we say. that night, may his soul rest in peace. We are getting Mr. Quia out of the whole facility because that area was infiltrated by all the police, all the security people. If we are talking about Guide Street, the graveyard, Randall Street, what they used to call Cooper Farm, where they have the UN area, all the offices, the security people, because NBI was right there when you climb the hill, when you go in Mercury Street, they're right there. The entire security network was brought to force, and they descended on Guide Street. Some of them claim to be members of power. And those that we know will come to you and we tap you on the back and say, Pingy, this is a rock business, don't do this, don't do this. Oh yeah, we blew their covers too. We blew their covers. O'clock, our post show up at Power's office. This gentleman, Mr. Quia, was not comfortable leaving me in harm's way. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the guidance. Thank you for the help. Our report came, he was looking for power leadership. I didn't know Mr. Quia have come back. I told the guy, I don't want to talk to Albert Port. He can start talking them. Talk about their mind made up. And Oscar showed up. And Albert Port showed up. Providence. Very good coincidence. And Albert Port said, Quia, the president need your assurance that power will cut the foolishness off. Quia said to Albert Port, we will. If we get the president to move the police, we will. He said, I will take you to Mr. Talbot. By that time, every official of significance in this town, they have fled. They fled this town. All the people that were pretending to be government officials, they ran with their pants down. No spine. They fled this place. Our tried all night. This guy was running, going to Bento, going to the mansion to get to the president. And he said, look, Mr. Port, pal, the operation is good to go, okay? We're good to go. And so when you say we should cut a demonstration or 12 midnight, okay, we'll cut it off. We send word to our people from 12 midnight to about 6, 7 o'clock that morning that when you hear a gunshot goes off, that's the only time you move from your place. Wherever you are, stay. Don't move. There's a man in this place, they call him Wilfred Clark. Was supposed to have been one of the security guru in this town. There was a thing we used to do, we call it cell. And cell, little some, little something to, get the word out. But Wilfred said he saw that word in a Communist manifesto. And when you talk about cell, it's about underground activities. And Paul was employing that tactic to go underground. And Wilfred Clark wanted to know. He wanted to know. At that time, Vanning Dempster was at the height of his career as a policeman. One of Liberia's finest policemen. There was this kid, we were all friends in high school, very smart kid, Gabriel Scott. He graduated from CWA. Gabriel Scott. We all graduated from high school 1972. Gabriel, he came from the other side. They chased him, he went away, he got a degree, police science or something. He got a little something, he came back looking good. The kid was looking good. They brought in one Gerald Richard, the boy from B.W. Harris. And he said too, he was a policeman. Yeah. But we learned things too. They had the police, we have our men in the police. So at least we knew what they were trying to do. The Progressive Alliance of Liberia, let me say, Mr. Chairman, we recruited day and night. We recruited. And our research, our effort revealed that Liberia were ready to flip the page. April 14, finally arrived. About 6 o'clock, I think, between 6:30, I saw this boy approaching Gurley Street, approaching Powell office. They call him Henry Boima Fambule.